Youssef, it's great to see you again. Thanks for your time, for the cooperation, and on building up this partnership. I'd like also to thank the team from UNFCCC that was involved on the engagement for establishing the partnership between Sabesp and UNFCCC, and also recognize on our side all the efforts that was put in place to build this partnership, and not only building it, but also making it work as we've been doing since the COP28 when we first met. On our side, this partnership is very important and strategic. As we mentioned when we met, we have a lot of things and challenges in Brazil, things being done that we could collaborate and also learn from all the UNFCCC network, that we could work, we could act as a multiplier of knowledge to all this network, and really establish new concepts and patterns to address similar problems and challenges that we have in Brazil, in other places in the world. So using this platform, this worldwide platform, to engage, to build relationships and share knowledge amongst all the people that is involved on the challenges of bringing water and sanitation to poor people, and universalize the services throughout the globe. It's pretty much a challenge that we'd like to be part of and contribute, and again learn from other examples throughout the world. Hence, the Resilience Frontiers initiative is also something that we are very keen of being part of. In São Paulo and also in different places in Brazil, we've been through climate events that was not part of our routine. Just to give an example, in the area of São Paulo, between the years of 2014 and 2016, we have a major drought that affected most of our operations in the city of São Paulo and the metropolitan region, that really demanded a lot of investment on our side. It generated a lot of knowledge and acknowledgement that climate change is something that's really part of our reality, and we need to prepare and act to reduce the impacts of this climate change that's really already in place. And recently, unfortunately, several days ago, we have a major flood in the south part of Brazil, and using our experiences through the drought and the flood that happened in São Paulo beginning of last year, we managed to mobilize our workforce with technicians and vehicles and support with pumps, with big pump sets that really can produce and transport a lot of volumes of water to help the cities in the south part of Brazil, at the Rio Grande do Sul, to accelerate the drainage of the floods that really is in place right now there. So on our side, it's a great honor to be part of this partnership. We recognize this as an outstanding place for Sabesp to be, and really help other countries and also Brazil to evolve on this climate change and resilience frontier agenda. And on my side, it would be very nice to hear from you, Youssef, what you think about this partnership and with companies, how those partnerships that were built with other companies helped UNFCCC to strengthen this collaboration network and promote this agenda on the climate change matters. Thank you.
Well, thank you, André. It's always a pleasure, and we are also very proud to have this partnership with Sabesp, a very unique utility company in an area of the world where we really want to engage, especially that Brazil will host the upcoming COP30 at the end of next year in the city of Belém. Now, these partnerships between the international process and the private sector are immensely important, because we do not want to exist in a silo without having those bridges with actually the people who are doing the work, who are doing research and development in advancing the knowledge and the processes to address these challenges. And you mentioned challenges, but let's also look at them as opportunities. So where do we want to land in the end, and how can we collaborate and build bridges in order to achieve that final landing zone, whether it's the achievement of the SDG on water and sanitation or those objectives under the climate change agenda. And the idea is for us to make sure that the international process creates the enabling conditions for the entities that are engaged in this sector to be able to do good while doing well. So aligning with the objectives of sustainability, but at the same time doing good business. And as the world changes from one state to another, from a state of lack of sustainability, what we call an extractive relationship with nature, where we exploit nature just as a resource, up to a state where there is that synergy, symbiosis with nature, regenerative relationship with it, where as we conduct economic activities, we are actually benefiting the world and its ecosystems. That transition can happen in a way that ensures that the companies we deal with are also benefiting business-wise. And so several objectives in our partnerships. Number one is to make sure that we are helping the companies with which we partner to be resilient themselves, to protect their own operations from the adverse effects of climate change. And it differs from sector to sector, from region to region. So that conversation is really important. A second thing is to identify and catalyze opportunities for public-private partnerships, whether between the companies and the governments in the countries in which they operate, or also with the international system, as is the case with Sabesp and UNFCCC, because then new opportunities can emerge, both for advancing the thinking, advancing this intellectual space within which we operate. In the case of Resilience Frontiers, it's about long-term thinking, about landing zones. What does it mean for the world to be fully resilient in water, taking into account all kinds of complexities and levels and transboundary aspects, etc., so that we know how to measure progress towards that desirable future. But also there are opportunities within countries. So you might have heard of the floods in Bangkok in the year 2011, where companies lost in excess of $40 billion as a result of that flood. And then a thought experiment would be, okay, if there was a partnership where as part of their operating costs, they could have contributed to the resilience of the city, maybe they would have gained a lot more than what they would have invested there. So it is our job here through these partnerships to try to identify these new, innovative and novel ways to catalyze these types of engagements between partners who may not have talked with each other before. And we're certainly hopeful that our engagement with Sabesp, which is actually really productive so far, it continues to push that envelope and to become a model for other entities working in the utilities sector and in water in particular.
Well, thank you very much, Youssef. And we are pretty much aligned on our views in regards of how can a water and sanitation utility contribute not only on the debate, but with examples and opportunities that we've been seeking to address. And again, if we think broadly, water is basically the main vehicle that climate change materializes, either through floods or water scarcity or pollution. Everything that happens to climate affects water, and the way the cycle of the water is changing dramatically. Waves of heat or waves of drought, a lot of rain in places and times that it didn't happen in the same volume. So when you think about the role of the water to achieve the SDGs, and we think broadly, water affects basically most of them. When you think about in developing countries that does not have all the structure for water and sanitation with access to all the population, bringing those types of infrastructure is a way of creating social inclusion to promote a proper work and access to education, to reduce or increase the sustainability of the cities. I could go all the way through the SDGs and show how water could be a lever, a way of creating those, to establish the foundations of a better society, going way beyond from SDG 6 that's specifically related to water. And on our side,
how does Sabesp look at
we've been
controlling
trying
climate
to really connect all those dots in Brazil and promote a different way, another way of accessing water and our power to contribute on reducing the effects of the human population on several environments. Through all those 50 years that Sabesp has been working on the water and sanitation services, we've been very keen on establishing and building the best in class infrastructure for water production, for sewage collection and treatment. And what we've been working through those 2 years that we've been in place here is to really enact and build another lever of thinking about the circular economy. How can we, as a water and sanitation company, implement, materialize, and really create the concept and apply the concept of circular economy? We are in a very specific sector where we are responsible for producing, bringing the water to our treatment stations, treating it, bringing the water to the consumer, collecting the byproducts of the water consumption to a treatment station, treat the wastewater sewage, and give the water treated back to the nature. So a very specific economic activity that has all the cycle of the production already in place within its responsibility. So scaling that up and trying to create and develop new businesses in relation to those activities is something that we've been very enthusiastic of putting in place. Just to give an example that we are doing is changing the concept of the wastewater and dash sewage treatment station. What we've done so far is that we treat the water, we treat the sewage, we separate the sludge, the recycled water, and give them a proper treatment, bring the sludge to landfills, and that's it. What we've been studying for several years in pilots in several places in the state of São Paulo is that we can produce energy by collecting the biogas from the biodigesters, so we can reduce the amount of biogas that go to the atmosphere and therefore produce energy and heat. And the heat can be re-injected on the biodigester process and accelerate the process of producing additional gas and produce more energy. That's one thing that we've been scaling up in our stations. Another thing that is also related to this process is the sludge is very rich on fertilizers and phosphorus, nitrogen, and things that we could apply to agriculture. So by applying a specific process with a certain amount of heat, we can drain and reduce the volume of the sludge and also create biofertilizers. We are already running this kind of process in a city in the state of São Paulo called Botucatu, in partnership with a university. And there's another opportunity for us to scale that up in those build facilities that we have in the metropolitan region of the city of São Paulo, to reduce the amount of sludge that we send to landfills and create an additional economic activity that will also improve the performance of the company, allowing us to accelerate the capex that we need to do and be more efficient in that process. So it's very it's a tangible opportunity that we've been seeking in our operations that materialize the concept of water circularity, combining it with additional value, additional generated value to not only to the company but also to the society. And in that regard, thinking about the sanitation sector and the role that UNFCCC as you mentioned, as a catalyst to generate knowledge and share knowledge to different parts of the world. How do you see the role of sanitation companies in this climate change agenda on the perspective of the partnership with UNFCCC and the broader view that you have for this agenda to the world?
Well, I think you've outlined really great work in how Sabesp is greening the sanitation business. So that concept of doing good while doing well. And in this regard, there are several areas where sanitation and water appear in the UNFCCC process. Most prominently, I think, is the relationship to human health. And like I said, we don't have, we cannot afford to have silos between the different sectors because they're all interconnected. And climate change, as much of a challenge as it is, it's also an opportunity for building bridges across. So the health sector can very easily, through being catalyzed by climate action, be a contributor to advancing the work on water and sanitation. Especially when it comes to dealing with the aftermath of extremes, where sanitation is really an important part of that recovery process. And we've just created a massive loss and damage fund that is going to be entrusted with responding to the needs of vulnerable communities after such extremes happen. And we will certainly, in that regard, be relying on the companies that are operating in situ where these impacts happen. The question of access to clean and safe potable water, it is one of the main landing zones or targets of the Global Goal on Adaptation, which was adopted in Dubai last year. And certainly this is a very ripe area of work that can lend itself to partnerships between the international system and companies that are actually doing the work on the ground. And the implications of this on equity and on justice is also very important. That's a big aspect of climate change work. So this is the second thing. We have a mandate from the Global Goal on Adaptation for sanitation systems to become resilient to climate change, and that has a linkage to what we call national adaptation plans. So each country in the developing world will be providing a national adaptation plan. Brazil has already submitted one quite a while back, but this can be revised. And these plans are then submitted to the financial mechanism for support. So the financial mechanism of the convention, especially the Green Climate Fund, is mandated to support the formulation of the plans, but also the implementation of the projects and the program. And so insofar as a country would have prioritized water and sanitation, that opens the door for an influx of resources for the country to make sure that its water sector and its sanitation sector can address the additional impacts of climate change. And most importantly now, and very innovatively, these green processes that you outlined and the link with ecosystems, whether wetlands or otherwise, are certainly a very important component of nature-based solutions that can be supported by the international system, given their contribution to resilience and adaptation to climate change. So many different moving parts here. They all belong to that holistic label of water and sanitation, where there's massive interest from the international community and mandates for the international system to actually endorse and support actions in this regard. And you have at the national level and sub-national level, the companies, utility companies, public and private, that can actually do the biggest part of the value addition to achieve that vision of resilience towards climate change. But resilience generically, because even without climate change, we're still not at a stage where the world is comfortable with the objectives of the SDGs, especially SDG 6. So yeah, and I really recognize your statement earlier on how Sabesp has been helping with the recent floods in Rio Grande do Sul, and in this regard, perhaps you might want to reflect on the experience of Sabesp as the biggest water utility company in Latin America, and how the lessons that you have there can be expanded both within your country, within Brazil, but actually beyond. Do you see opportunities that can lead to scaling up and replicating, side scaling, also where we can help provide exposure to that and shed more light on the opportunities that you can provide through that replication?
Great point. As a matter of fact, yes, we're very keen on doing so. We've been for, I think, given our scale and the ecosystems that we operate in small cities with water scarcity, water availability through underground reservoirs. We operate in the coastal area with very dense areas such as the city of São Paulo and the city of Santos and those metropolitan regions. So we have a lot of experiences on dealing with challenges and also opportunities on those areas. And that's is very unique when you compare to other utilities in the world. Either you have developed countries' utilities with different challenges, or you have lagging countries with a lot of things to do, and it still doesn't have the proper governance or the regulatory framework to operate within. And I think on our side, we kind of have a foot on different sides, because we are leading utility of the world in a sense that we have scale. We've been doing that in a very efficient way for over 50 years. We have a very advanced, and we are improving this regulatory model this year, so we can share those experiences, how we align the visions and the interests of different stakeholders to really focus on providing the best services on the view of our clients, reducing the impacts of our presence in the environment, and also being efficient when you think about this holistic view of not only social inclusion, but a circular economy and water resilience. Those are the three pillars that we have in our concept of the ESG agenda and our the way that we operate and the way we think of our investments looking forward. So what I was talking about is that we have experience to share with developing countries that are lagging. They are in earlier stages than ours when we think about all the things that we've already been through, the concepts of circular economy, the experiments that we are doing, the scale that we have, and the regulatory framework that really allows us to invest and improve the systems without the needs of payments from the government to establish those services, which is very good. So we can have an activity that is independent and economically feasible without the support of the government, paid directly by tariffs. I think that's a good model when we think about social infrastructure of water and sanitation. And also on the other side, we've been investing a lot through all the years on innovation, and we've been sharing with developed countries everything that's being done throughout the world with countries from Europe, North America, and also Japan and the countries from Asia in regards of water recycling, improvements of systems, using artificial intelligence to make our systems more efficient, and also deal with challenges related to our client base. So in general, when we think about the way that Sabesp can share those experiences with different types of counterparts, is very unique. Again, considering our scale, our experience, and the way that we've developed ourselves throughout the time. And I can just mention several things that we've been doing throughout the years, and are examples that we would love to share with other countries. We have a program called Se Liga na Rede, connect yourself to the network, that basically allows us to invest and establish the infrastructure inside the houses of poor people to connect the sewage system to our network, That's very unique. We don't see that happen in other places in Brazil or elsewhere in the world. We have also Agua Legal, it's called in English, legal water, that connects clients that basically they are getting water from different sources, maybe our pipelines, without having a proper connection, a legal connection with the company. So we bring those people to our network, and that not only connect them to our network, that we can assure that that is potable and proper for human use, but also it's a way of social inclusion. They get a it's very important. They kind of have a regular address that they can use as a reference of where they live. So our role basically materialize the very basic mean of social inclusion, is giving the person an address that can be used to ask for deliveries and so on. So it's very specific. It's very unique, the way that increasing our network, bring more people to our network, transform not only individuals' lives, but also communities. When you think about cleaning the streets, cleaning the water streams, and bringing a new life to a community. We have a lot of examples in that sense. What we did at Rio Pinheiros project, and we are doing at Rio Tietê, those activities will affect, in a broader sense, over 3 million people when we start connecting those houses to our network and really clean those rivers. All the community benefits from that, and we also act with social support, not only bringing knowledge and telling how important to the community, how important it is to keep the community clean, have a proper solid waste management, and in different places we've also built recycling solid waste facilities so they can bring the waste and generate an economic activity by cleaning the streets and the water streams. So we act as a promoter, not only bringing the water and sewage infrastructure, but also bringing knowledge and the means for the communities to be self-sustainable and develop themselves through the years. And what we've seen so far is after our presence, the overall community pattern improves a lot. There's a significant reduction on child absences on schools, and also the fathers that when the child is sick, they cannot go to work. There's also a reduction on that. So the potential of development, not only social but also economically, of a community that, when you compare by having or not having a proper water and sewage infrastructure, is very different. And that is something that we would like to learn from other places, but we can also share our experiences on that sense. So and that's basically on our side, our expectations on establishing this partnership, creating this knowledge sharing community and relationship with UNFCCC and its partners. And we are very keen on being part of our next COPs, not only this year, but the next year in Brazil, in the heart of the Amazon. So we will be able to not only share what we've been doing, but also promote Brazil as a platform for attracting investment related to climate change and climate resilience. And I would like to hear from you. What are your expectations from COP30 in Brazil?
Well, thank you very much, André. Let me build on what you just said, because I was listening with great admiration to the impact of some of those initiatives you just mentioned, and realizing that Sabesp is not just a company that invests in water and sanitation, but also in inclusiveness and equity ultimately with the secondary impact of what you're doing. And that is really the gist of what Resilience Frontiers as an initiative does. It's not about individual sectors, but moving the world towards well-being. And as we move towards COP30, we're also touching on this a bit, in that will be the culmination and the end of the current work program on the global goal on adaptation, which has 7 targets, including one on water and sanitation, which calls for minimizing water scarcity, attaining climate resilience in water supplies and in sanitation, but also access to safe and affordable potable water for all. And the for all is the clincher here. It's not 50%, it's not 30%. The idea here is that we are mandated to achieve full resilience in many different areas, including water and sanitation. So between now and COP30, and it will then come to its culmination in COP30, we will have this work program going on to identify the exact ways to measure this, both to measure the landing zones. Basically, how do we decide that we have reached that level of resilience? How do we measure it? What kind of qualitative or quantitative or intangible indicators can be there? But also to be able to identify where are we on the road to that achievement. And many people might know about the global stocktake, which is basically the report card the international system gives itself on how well it's doing every 5 years. So COP30 will come in sort of in the middle period between the first and second stocktake, where we will in earnest be looking at how will the second global stocktake in 2028 look at the achievement we've done on different areas, including on adaptation, and including on attaining the 7 targets of the global goal, which part of which is water and sanitation. So this will be really important as we go into the Belém COP, where we will have then achieved the exact way to measure this as a consensus of all the countries that are participating in this negotiation, but also coming up with any global actions that can be spearheaded in order to achieve these things. So not to be left to each community to fend for itself or each country, but there might be opportunities for global action, just like we did with the Early Warning for All initiative that's spearheaded by the Secretary General of the United Nations. So similar global activities can come out with the deliberations that will go on in the coming period on water sanitation and the other elements of the global goal on adaptation. Then there's the differentiation between different levels. So what should be the global aspect of these targets? Because it's not always the case that the aggregation of local or national targets could become the global target. You could have each country for itself, considering itself to be resilient, but then because of neglect of the global commons, for example, you might have reduced resilience for the world. And so we'll also be dealing with the global component. If the Earth was one country, would we consider ourselves to have become resilient or not? So work on the global angle of these goals will be something that we will have reached an outcome on and adopted in COP30, hopefully. Other than that, it's promising to be a very focused COP session. It's going to be smaller than the previous one, but that gives us an opportunity to be very deliberative in our focus on really concrete outcomes from there. And I think some of the priorities that Brazil has and the whole region, the Latin American and Caribbean region, will get some additional exposure because of the location of this session. So I'm pretty optimistic that with the momentum generated by great actions like what Sabesp is doing and other players in the region, we could plant the seed for certain initiatives there to be scaled up and replicated, as long as they contribute to global well-being in the way that you very aptly described that your company is doing. And congratulations for that. I really look forward to our joint engagement between now and the COP that will take place in Brazil, and for Sabesp to have a very prominent role in that COP session.
Well, Youssef, thank you very much. Really great honor for us to be part of this initiative and having a role to contribute on that agenda. We are very keen to be part of it and count on us, not only on the objective, but on the journey. I think we have a lot of things to be done, and we will be doing on the field a lot of things from now to by the end of next year. So that journey, with your help and all the network that we are establishing, will be a major change on the way that we can communicate and interact with the global community. It's a big challenge, and to address that challenge, we need a lot of different effort from different parts of the world. So count on us, count on Sabesp. We are doing our part. We'll be very glad and happy to help and learn from other players around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we're really looking forward to embark on that journey with you. The journey is part of the destination, as we say, and we're, again, very proud to be partnering with you on this. Thank you, André.
Thank you very much. See you soon.